Okay, calling the July 28th, 2021 Special Independent Redistricting Commission meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and I'll begin the roll call. Honorable Elizabeth Ellen White.
Present.
Honorable Abraham Khan.
Present.
Honorable Melinda A. Johnson.
Present.
Thank you. Mr. Colon, do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, thank you.
Yep. We'll move to public comment, and we don't have anyone attending, so no public comment at this time. And we'll move forward with the approval of minutes.
Does anyone have any comments on the June 30th, 2021 minutes?
No.
Judge Khan?
No.
I actually had one comment. It mentions in there that the plaintiffs in the Benalis case are supportive of the amendment that we have been working on, and that the trial judge is supportive of the amendment. I truly do not remember us discussing that. I'm not certain having a trial judge's pre-statement about a case that may come before her is something that should be in the minutes, but I honestly don't remember that being said. I'm free to be contradicted, but anyone have any thoughts on that part of the minutes?
Yeah, I have no recollection of the trial judge there being any express comment concerning that judge's opinion as to any of the issues. But with regard to whether the plaintiff and some of the plaintiff's counsel would be in concurrence, I may have heard it on the 30th or at some prior meeting.
I likewise don't recall any comment about the judge. I do recall a discussion about Benalis and that the plaintiffs were in agreement.
Could there be a motion to amend the minutes to just remove that one portion of the minutes?
I so move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Otherwise, is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I also vote in favor. So they're approved as amended.
Okay, and we'll move to the two items on the agenda. First, report on draft civic engagement plan for redistricting.
Could I just back up? Do we need to approve the July 21st special meeting minutes?
Oh, yes.
Special meeting. Are there any comments, additions, corrections to those minutes?
No.
All right, hearing none, the minutes are approved. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And is Ms. Sosa Acosta starting off with the first item on the agenda?
Thank you, Raquel. So we actually have one of the project leads here today with us, Sarah Isa, to be available to talk a little bit about the draft civic engagement plan and also answer your questions. On our end, we're also available to answer those questions as well if you have any feedback, especially.
Thank you. Good evening.
Do you want to start with the question? No, go ahead. Thank you. I just want to make sure you can make a presentation.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'll quickly summarize the staff report. So we met internally and proposed 8 public hearings during this process before the April 17th deadline. All of the meetings will be noticed in newspapers and on the webpage. The first meeting would be in September, and that would be in person. And then meetings 2 through 7 would either be in person or virtual or hybrid. That's to be determined. The second meeting would cover criteria and technical training on map drawing with our consultant. And then meetings 2 through 7 would be district meetings. So it would be one meeting per district, as we discussed last week. And those would go from the period of January to the end of March. There would be a little bit of a break during the holidays once people have had a chance to take in the criteria and technical training from the second meeting. Any questions on that so far?
Yeah, I had one question. So with regard to, I think it's page 2 of your report on draft civic engagement plan, the introduction hearing, or rather the criteria and technical training hearing set for Wednesday, October 20th, that's just going to be with technical staff, correct? It's not going to involve any of the commissioners.
My understanding it would be technical staff and the public is invited to learn about the tools.
Yeah, because if you included that as one of the hearings, there'd actually be 9.
Right, yes. Thank you.
So
Are
I
Are
had
we
just,
free to attend? Are we free to attend if we want to just listen or no?
I'll have to defer to the legal staff on that. I'm not sure.
Okay,
We, Honorable Chair, we can, and members of the commission, we can notice it so that you can attend if you would like. And honestly, we're looking for your feedback on the sequence. We worked to try and put dates down as well for the obvious calendar needs of each of you. I know you're in great demand. I want to reiterate just one thing that Ms. Isa said, and I don't know whether she's finished, but there is an intentional hiatus between the training and introduction of the mapping tool and the beginning of the year. We run into obvious holiday difficulties for the public, and that, I don't know, interregnum would allow them an opportunity to work with the mapping tool and come up with draft maps to submit in January. I don't know, Ms. Leone may have more to add.
I know that was actually the intent. We discussed the hiatus. The training is to teach the public what facilities are available to them for drawing maps. So there's going to be an online tool where they actually click through it. I think it's going to be on the city's website, and are able to draw a map using tools similar to what your demographer will be using. Not exactly the same, certainly, but similar. And the program will also tell them about the populations they are joining together. It is generally a user-friendly tool, but it does take some training to use it. As to the question about the commissioners attending, that may be something you may want to know as well. You may want to be playing with maps yourself when you have nothing to do on a Saturday or an evening. So that is available. There will be other tools as well, including maps on the back of paper napkins. Our demographer, Mr. Johnson, who is attending our meeting today, has dealt with everything, including that. That will all be preserved a period of just shy of 60 days, but we got to take the holidays out of there, where the public will be the first ones to weigh in on mapping, not after there's already a direction set. They will set the direction with maps, identification of their communities of interest, and the submission of those into the redistricting process to be gathered by our demographer and presented to you then at the beginning of the year when map adjustments begin. Doug, would you have anything to add to that?
Do we anticipate that there will be certain community leaders that will be actively involved in this process?
And this is Doug Johnson, and actually Daniel Phillips from my team is here as well. And yes,
Yes.
leaders and individuals. We get an interesting mix of, typically we get an interesting mix of just kind of very interested individuals and then kind of neighborhood grassroots organization leaders.
Thank you. I had one question just about the date of the September 13 meeting where we would be in person. It's not a good date for me. I don't know if we can push it out a week.
I don't see a problem with that, Honorable Commissioner.
If we could put it to the 20th, I can easily get up to Santa Barbara without a problem.
What time are we thinking this would be? This would be in person in the evening, right?
Yes,
Or-
Honorable Commissioner, yes.
In the evening, you think?
Yes, most likely around 6 p.m.
Okay, so I have a hearing that ends at 5 o'clock in Westlake. I will call them in advance and tell them we're just going to end at 4 or even 3:30 or something. Okay, so that would be about 6 p.m. or so on the 13th. Got it.
Duly noted.
If we could do the 20th, that would be
I'm sorry,
great.
the 20th. You said the 20th, and that's what I was looking at. Yeah.
Thank you so much for accommodating me. Thank you.
And
Thank
what
you.
time is that?
But tentatively for 6 p.m., please.
Okay.
And we're working on sending invitations to each of the meetings as well to calendar them for you.
You know, on the meetings in the various districts, I think you said it could be video, it could be Zoom, it could be in person. I would like it to be presumptively in person unless it proves to not work very well. That would be, I think, all of our first choices from what I heard in much earlier discussions. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I'd like to shoot for that on all of those.
Thank you. May I continue on public outreach?
Please.
Okay, thank you. So our tentative plan for public outreach is to have translation in Spanish and American Sign Language at each meeting, as well as childcare services, and those could be provided by any fingerprinted and live scanned volunteer or city staff. We would also be renting most likely city venues or school district venues, as well as purchasing media services as needed, audiovisual equipment. We will be doing webpage updates as well as noticing in local publications, Spanish and English. And then we have a preliminary plan for on-the-ground outreach in the community. What's worked well for us in the past is having a table set up at, say, our Saturday farmers market, as well as the flea markets. And then also advertising on Spanish radio. And then posting the notices at the laundromats. Those are very highly trafficked areas, and people tend to have social conversations there, we found, as well as the libraries. And I think that was the list of the most common places, but that's a changing outreach plan. We just wanted to make sure that you knew what our initial plan was.
Can I ask a question? I don't know what, the various ethnic composition of Santa Barbara is, but if only bilingual flyers are distributed, and yet I read in Section 203 of the Federal Voting Rights Act that there are other languages that apparently, if they're identifiable within the district, should also, your your brochure should also be capable of communicating with them. So if we only have English and Spanish and sign, how do we address issues concerning other than those languages such as Korean or Chinese or American Indian or Alaskan Native or East Indian? That's my question.
Thank you, Honorable Commissioner. I actually noted that today when I was reading the act. So that is a to-do. That's on our to-do list to see what other languages we need to interpret as well. In terms of the Santa Barbara community, it's, I would say, 95% Spanish or English.
And so that not only affects the flyers, it kind of morphs into the training as well.
Mhm.
If you're shooting for inclusiveness and you want to reach out to everybody in the community so that when they attend this training class on October 20th, if they choose to, that they're capable of understanding how they can have input into the process.
Yeah. If it's useful, I did double check, and Spanish is the only language that meets the floor for the city of Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Yes, if I may, there is a formula by which this is determined, and the formula is set forth in federal law and some in state. And it's also published on the Secretary of State's website. And for Santa Barbara, it is Spanish.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that makes it easy.
And Judge Khan, I'm not sure if you were asking this, but maybe Dr. Johnson remembers from 2015, I think Santa Barbara was in the neighborhood of 40% Latino surnamed.
Let me see. I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, very good. It was 38% of total population was Latino. Asian Americans as a combined total were 4%, or the second largest group.
And could you remind me, can you remind me again of the two districts that were specifically set forth in the Benalis settlement?
They would be, Your Honor, those would be districts 1 and 3. 1 being what's referred to here as the lower east side, 3 being the west side.
Thank you.
That concludes my report.
Okay, so on the March 30th meeting, that would be to adopt the redistricting map. I'm going to assume that while these other ones may be maybe 90 minutes or something, the public meetings and our typical meeting is an hour or less. That one we should perhaps budget more time for, right? That one could be longer. March 30th?
Yes, Your Honor. The cue is deliberate. So
Yeah.
you may review materials, reach your individual conclusions and analyses, but your, I imagine an appellate court in the back figuring out what the answer is going to be. That has to happen in public on the 30th.
I don't think you ever want to see that actually happen on the appellate court, but.
Could I ask for some clarification? I know in bankruptcy court, there is an NDC, it's National Data Center. But with regard to the use of NDC and the materials we've received, is that the National Demographic Corporation?
Yes, that's Daniel and I.
Okay.
I will tell you right now, because of just the way arbitrations are set, I have an all-day arbitration, which is in Riverside on March 30th. So what I'm going to do, I will call them tomorrow and I have them set on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I'll just change the Wednesday to the Friday. That shouldn't be any problem, but I will take care of that immediately. So that
Thank you very much.
whatever part of the day we need, I don't have to drive back from Riverside for part of it, so. Okay.
Yeah, and perhaps we should discuss, it's probably an early afternoon start time so that you'll have plenty of time, but there'll still be an evening opportunity for those amongst us who work during the day.
Okay, and that we would want to have in person, I assume, somewhere, right? So we're actually sitting there looking through documents and drafts and so forth, right?
Yes, and I'm optimistic or hopeful that we can get the city council chambers, which has the convenient ability to televise as well as broadcast on the internet.
Can I ask another question? With regard to, the technical training and learning how to use the computer for purposes of changing maps, electoral districts, is there a way that someone who is, without a computer, doesn't have the money for a computer, for that person or those people to be able to propose changes in a way that doesn't require them to use a computer?
You want to answer that or you want me to?
No, go right ahead, Doug. This is your bailiwick.
Yes. So anytime we put up online tools, we always put out a paper version of it. So it'll be a map that has little geographic units with population counts for each one. So anyone with just that map can draw a district and make sure it's population balanced.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. There's nothing we need to actually adopt, correct? I mean, this is the plan. We've made our comments and suggestions. We don't have to adopt it as such. Am I correct or no?
Our purpose for today was to have a check-in on the skeletal outline of the civic engagement plan, and principally then to get those dates out for your calendars. And what we've heard tonight has been extremely useful. The presumptive in-person meetings is one direction. We've addressed the non-technical tools. We've addressed training. If we will just go ahead and notice it as a special meeting, but your attendance is optional.
Yeah, can I ask a point for clarification? I know there was some concern, I think it was raised by the city attorney's office last time, when there were discussions about what other districts were doing and that they were having at least one hearing per district. And then there was some concern about whether there was enough money in the budget for that. So I started looking at that Fair Maps Act, and it looked like if those are mandated expenses, that there's a basis by which cities are allowed to be reimbursed. Is that accurate?
Recovering state mandates is sort of a fantasy thing we think about as city attorneys. So it may be, I don't remember whether the bill includes the legislative exoneration from state mandate. Marguerite, do you know?
You know, I don't recall, Ariel, because my experience with state mandates is pie in the sky. This would definitely qualify, but I don't know if I don't know if the reimbursement ever happens when these programs are imposed locally.
We will, I'd be happy to address that. And when you're looking at legislation, it's typically in the last section, they include a finding about why it's not reimbursable as a state mandate. And that's a pretty well impenetrable conclusion, at least historically. But it's a good question we'll look at.
Yeah, and I can just have it. Of the jurisdictions that have gone through this process so far, none of them have been reimbursed.
Oh, that's not good news. Well, then, did somehow the concern get resolved that maybe there wasn't enough, money in the budget to have so many meetings, and now all of a sudden there's 8 of them?
I've been in contact with the city administrator. He's aware of the situation. We will go to the city council to get funding. And if we have to adjust, we'll come back to the commission. I'm not anticipating a problem. Here's why. The change to district elections has had a dramatic, palpable effect in Santa Barbara. And the city council, I think, is uniformly committed to carrying out their obligations under both the Banales case and now what the voters told them with the charter. So yeah, it's expensive, but price of democracy, right? Or rather here, the price of including everyone that we used to ignore.
Okay.
Sorry, by the way, I didn't mean to be offensive with that.
I don't think you were at all offensive. I think it's well taken.
Yeah. So as I understand it, then what you have from us, and I'll pass through one more time to see if there's questions or comments, is then you will finalize the civic engagement plan, and that will be a primary topic of the August meeting. And then after we begin the series of public meetings, we probably will not be having the monthly meetings as they look now, unless one's specially called, correct?
I think that's correct.
I do want to point out, if I may, I do want to point out that before we go into the mapping phase, which is a hiatus after the October meeting, we will have the updated demographics for the city. And there is on the agenda a opportunity, a space where that will be reported to you and to the community. And that will spark a good deal of mapping interest, and I think input in that hiatus period. So it's going to be a period of time where there is intense interest.
Understood.
I had one other thing to say, which is we will not put you in the position of reviewing the August report in 24 hours. So we will get that out no later than the Thursday before your Wednesday meeting.
So we'll have something to do over the weekend.
Very interesting stuff.
Yeah, right.
The part that's exciting about concluding that is the people like Ms. Isa that actually know how to communicate with community will start bringing people in. So I'll be excited to get to that stage so that we can market this effort.
Anything else from any of the panel members or Dr. Johnson, Ms. Leone, Ms. Issa, anything you think we should know? I mean, a lot you do, but at this very moment.
Nothing for me right now.
Nothing additional, thank you.
Thanks. All right. Where is our fearless leader who's been calling through the agenda? She's off my screen. Ms. Becerra, you still there? There you are.
Right
Okay.
here.
All right.
All right. Are we ready to adjourn?
Yes, I think so. Anyone have anything else before we're ready to adjourn?
Well, can I say something? I'd like to commend your staff, City Attorney Coloni, for all the fine work, all the coordination, all the effort, the Herculean effort that went into trying to put the schedule together. I know more needs to be done, but initially I know that it requires reference to, the election codes and trying to figure out what needs to be done, what's mandated, and then trying to satisfy, inclusiveness by having everyone in these districts have a vehicle by which they can participate. And I just think you did a great job.
I echo Judge Kahn's.
That's extremely kind. I'll share my secret. I learned it in Palo Alto. A's hire A's, B's hire C's.
That was cleverly done. My first legal job was as a deputy district attorney in Ventura County, and this is a bit dated, but the district attorney's philosophy was first-rate men hire first-rate men, second-rate men hire third-rate men. That's the theme, right? So you're all A's and first-rate.
What about first-rate men hire the best woman for the job?
That's very 21st century. That's not when I became a lawyer. All right. Anything else then before we adjourn? And I didn't get to agree, which I do, with Judge Kahn's remarks. Thank you very much for all this. Anything else before we adjourn?
Yep.
All right, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And unanimous. Thank you, everyone. So we'll see you August 28th next and look forward to all the materials that we'll be reviewing the weekend before. And when we speak of all the hard work you do in between, I'm sure that will be it. So thanks very much. See you in August.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you all.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.